So that was our look back at Steve Claggett's most recent victory over Alberto Machado. But we are ready to get back to action, so let's send it back down to the center of the ring.
Mesdames, Messieurs, le prochain combat prévu pour 4 rounds chez les super moyens. Ladies and gentlemen, our following contest scheduled for 4 rounds in the super middleweight division. Les juges pour ce combat, judges for this bout, Monsieur Richard Blouin, Madame Marie-Josée Guérin et Monsieur Pasquale Procopio. L'arbitre, your referee, Monsieur Junior Padulo. Tout d'abord, dans le coin bleu, en 5 combats professionnels, il compte 3 victoires, dont 2 obtenues par KO. Introducing first, fighting out of the blue corner in 5 professional bouts, he has 3 wins, 2 coming by way of knockout. De Guanajuato, Mexique, pesant 162,8 livres. From Guanajuato, Mexico, he weighed in at 162.8 pounds. Uziel Bueno! Et son adversaire dans le coin rouge, médaillé de bronze au plus récent championnat du monde de boxe amateur, il dispute ce soir son premier combat professionnel. His opponent fighting out of the red corner, a bronze medalist at the latest World Amateur Boxing Championship. He competes tonight in his first professional bout. De Chartres, France, pesant 164,6 livres. From Chartres, France, weighing 164.6 pounds, Moreno, the Soldier Fendero.
Okay, boys, so this is very high, so everything here is good. Everything here is good. Okay? Protéger todo el tiempo, on se protège tout le temps. Let's go, boys.
So we are back to action as we take a look at the tail of the tape. You see Moreno Fendero with a slight reach advantage, identical in terms of height, but it's the amateur experience that is vastly different. Moreno Fendero with over 150 amateur fights, bronze medalist at the most recent World Amateur Championships. Uziel Bueno, a decent amateur career on the Mexican circuit, 22-3, but just 3-2 as a professional. You see Moreno Fendero described by his coach, Mark Ramsey, as a southpaw version of Christian Mbili, and Morgan, right away, you see that brand of aggression.
Well, right away you see the pectoral stretch marks, which you only get from lifting big weights and growing muscles quickly. And if his nickname wasn't the Soldier, the nickname they told us he had on the way in was the Bull of Bangui, which is his parents' hometown and back in Central African Republic. But he could also be Tank.
The Toro de Bangui, Moreno Fendero. Good shot there from Fendero as he brings that right hand to the body.
And Fendero, he got warned in the pre-fight instructions about how high his trunks were, but he just seems to have very long legs and a short torso, and that's just where his waist is.
Well, the other thing he has, according to Mark Ramsey, is kind of a built-in understanding of the physicality that you need to be a professional fighter. He said that he had that in the amateurs, and even more so than his results at the World Games. It was that physicality, and you see it right now.
Well, absolutely, because the judges don't often give you credit for that type of physicality in the amateurs, but they absolutely credit you for it in the pros. So he was maybe a little bit miscast as an amateur boxer, but a bronze medal at Worlds is an impressive accolade.
Stiff jab there from Fendero. Fendero just right in front of Bueno. And Bueno stuck on the ropes in this absolutely tiny ring. 16 by 16, the smallest you could possibly legally configure a ring here in Quebec. That is what we're using here tonight. Morgan, we estimate about, what, 3 strides and you'd have your opponent against the ropes?
It's about that. So this is not the ring to be in if you want to move and dance, unless you're an absolute magician. But this is the ring that the Christian Mbilis and Moreno Fenderos of the world prefer.
Smart work here from Fendero. Kind of conceded that Bueno is stuck along the ropes. And Fendero not rushing his work, but just keeping Bueno trapped there. And he rocks him with a sweeping right hook.
And Fendero's been loading up that right hook and throwing it for the entirety of the first round, and eventually it's going to get home. He's been getting closer and closer and closer with it.
Bueno just catching all glove. that combination. 15 seconds remaining in the opening round. This one's scheduled for 4. Fendero comes right down the pipe with the left hand. Looks like Bueno will survive the opening round, but that was a dominant frame from Moreno Fendero to kick off his professional career.
Une bonne défensive, je l'ai eu également. Quand tu es en position défensive, tu remarqueras qu'il te lance un coup à la fois. Okay? Il essaie un coup. Tu es capable de contre-attaquer sur ça. Il faut être seulement un peu plus près de lui. D'accord? Alors, le jab, on s'approche doucement. Le jab, on s'approche doucement. Il va t'essayer. On bloque et là, on contre-attaque. D'accord? Bien bas sur ta position, le menton bien bas. D'accord?
We're gonna take a look back at some of the action from the opening round.
It's a beautiful, long, stiff jab that Fendero has. I wish he would use it more. We'll see what he does in the next round or so. And the advice you heard from Ramsey, Corey, is pretty straightforward, even if you don't speak a lot of French. When Bueno touches you, block, counter, come back right away. And he also told him to start using that jab more.
Fendero trying to jab his way in there. There he drops the jab to the body. Fendero finished up camp in Montreal, Quebec with Mark Ramsey. He began his camp in Aubervilliers, France, where he resides. They're slowly making the transition to move to Montreal, Quebec to station himself here, as most, if not all, of the Eye of the Tiger stable does. There's a sharp left hand that rocks Uziel Bueno back. Bueno's been getting some decent preparation himself. He's been training alongside rising super flyweight contender David El General Cuellar.
And that will prepare you for anybody's speed, but I just don't know if there's a way to prepare for the kind of strength that Moreno Fendero has.
Amazing to think that Fendero only really started boxing in 2015, and yet in that time, in the time since then, racked up 150 amateur fights.
He was busy.
Reply here from Bueno. Manages to make Fendero take a step back for the first time in his pro career.
Listen, Bueno seems to understand what's at stake here, and if he can pull an upset, or even if he does not beat Fendero, if he looks good against Fendero, he's the type of fighter that they can bring back to this market, probably at a higher pay grade. Landed a right hand in between Fendero's punches right there.
Fendero comes right back with a right hand of his own. It's that sweeping right hook from Fendero. It's produced the most eye-catching shots of this contest thus far. Fendero goes down to the body with the left hand. The catch-and-shoot reply that Mark Ramsey was asking for. Caught the right hand of Bueno. Replied immediately with the left hand to the body.
You can also hear Bueno's corner telling him to change the rhythm a bit, change the timing, and Bueno trying to implement that advice in real time.
Important to remember, too, that Fendero is just literally months removed from being an active amateur. And, of course, these days you can oscillate to and fro.
Yes.
But Fendero really left the amateurs, had one camp, and is now in a professional ring. There's a sharp left hand over the top that connects from Fendero. There we see some more of the action from round two.
Beautiful long lead left hand there from Fendero. and then trying to finish that combination with that right hook.
There's some of the body work from Fendero as well.
Counter left hand over the top.
Round 3 begins. Uziel Bueno, at the behest of his corner, made some adjustments in the second round. At least gave Moreno Fendero a slightly different look, but still a dominant outing thus far for Fendero overall.
And here's Fendero making a concerted effort now to put his offense behind his jab, not just jump in with that right hook, which sometimes lands but sometimes doesn't.
More body work there from Fendero. A little flurry to the body. There's a right hand that scores once again.
And he's starting to figure out too, Fendero, that the jab and the body work makes everything else possible.
Nice flurry there from Bueno. A couple of shots landing to the body. Now, Fendero kind of got away with a little bit a couple of sequences ago there, Morgan. You were calling for more jabs. Fendero was kind of throwing the jab from too close.
Yes.
You know, another fighter might have done something with that. He was able to land it almost as if it was just a straight right hand, but that might be something he needs to tidy up as he advances.
100%.
Good body work there from Fendero.
As well as the fact that there have been sequences in this fight where Bueno can punch in between Fendero's punches. And for a person as athletic as Fendero is, you know, there's no reason for that to happen once he gets a little more experience and sharpens up his technique.
Fendero rightfully counting on the fact that he can physically overwhelm Bueno here tonight, but Bueno still teaching him a few lessons here and there. Nice uppercut there from Fendero.
And now we're finally seeing some head and some upper body movement from Fendero. We didn't see that in the first 2 rounds. And again, when he does that, it opens up so much more of his offense.
Nice right hook to the body there from Fendero. Climbs the ladder. Good head movement from Bueno to take the steam off of that left hand.
Uziel Bueno, even at 3-2, even as he loses every round here, so it's still a lot better than his record would indicate.
Oh, big right hook connects there from Fendero. The head of Bueno all over the place as he takes a knee, and Fendero with a couple of shots that could have been categorized as being late. Nonetheless, a knockdown for Fendero. The question is, was Bueno's knee on the canvas as those final shots landed, or was he merely in kind of a squat position? If he was, it's fair game. You can land those hooks.
Yeah, and from here, it was hard to tell. We will see what the replay says.
C'est un gars tough, c'est un gars qui peut prendre un coup, c'est un gars qui est fort physiquement. Si tu joues avec un coup de poing, il va suivre. Si tu joues en vitesse et en habileté, il ne suivra pas. Alors, rapidité, quand on sent qu'on l'a ébranlé, là, on peut aller en force. T'as bien compris?
Let's take a look back at the knockdown here, Morgan.
Okay. There's that right hook just missing by centimeters. There it is again, glancing off the shoulder before it connects. But right there, there's a big right hook that put Bueno down, but we didn't get to see whether his knee hit the floor or whether he just squatted. Either way, that was a functional knockdown.
There's a knockdown that will count. It is the first knockdown scored in the pro career of Moreno Fendero. And he is hunting for the knockout here in the fourth. Good Might have wobbled Bueno there a moment ago, and Bueno just stationary right now, waiting for these shots. And there's that right hook that put him on the canvas just a round to go.
And what we're noticing even this round from Fendero, his punches are a lot shorter. You heard Ramsey tell him in the corner, use some speed because he can't keep up with you if you do that. Now he's tightening the range a little bit, punching from closer range, but he's punching a lot faster.
Well, not that Bueno has been overly mobile throughout this fight, but Bueno, you'd have to think that the legs are impacted by what happened in the previous round. He's pretty content to go forehead to forehead right
Absolutely.
now. Left hand scores there from Fendero. The right hook comes right behind it. Fendero with a lot of time to close this one out, as you see an abrasion underneath the left eye of Uziel Bueno as well.
There's that jab again.
Fendero's corner, Mark Ramsey calling for uppercuts. You saw him cork that left hand to the body. There's a couple uppercuts just to bring the hands together of Bueno, and then the right hand to the body.
And a quick combination, and again, you see how much of the rest of his offense that opens up. Bueno, again, is impressive for his ability to think and to function in the counter while he's taking these huge shots. But make no mistake about it, Fendero's pounding him.
At the same time, Morgan, as far as pro debuts go, this is a much more useful debut than you often see. So Bueno has at least been in there, has absorbed some shots.
Has offered some resistance, which you don't often see in a pro debut.
Just like that, we saw a sweeping right hand from Bueno a moment ago. He's at least given Fendero something to look at on the tape after this fight.
Something to look at, something to think about, something to learn from, which you don't often see in a pro debut. So often in a pro debut, especially with somebody of Fendero's pedigree. Those first 4, 5, 6 pro fights are not even sparring sessions or exhibitions. So here we have something, that Fendero can build on after this.
I don't know, 15 seconds of this contest. Fendero looking for more uppercuts. That was the edict from Mark Ramsey. We saw a healthy dose of them here in the 4th and final round. A credit to Uziel Bueno, who took a lot of leather and managed to make it to the final bell. So the pro debut of the most recent bronze medalist in the middleweight division at the World Amateur Championships, Moreno Fendero, is in the books. Mark Ramsey is still giving instructions to Moreno Fendero, even moments after the fight had ended. You know, we should bring up as well the kind of bizarre circumstances of this fight as well. These two men made their entrances, were in the ring, and then due to the situation with Juan Santiago being rushed to the hospital, went back to the locker room basically for 20 minutes, then re-entered and did this all over again. So, you know, perhaps there was some momentum that was dampened with that happening.
Had to warm up, cool down, and then warm up again. If you are any type of pro athlete or even a recreational athlete, you know how difficult that is.
It looks like we are ready to make this one official. Let's send it back down to the center of the ring.
Mesdames, Messieurs, après 4 rounds, nous allons au quart de pointage pour la décision. Ladies and gentlemen, after 4 rounds, we go to the judges' scorecards for the decision. Les juges remettent des cartes identiques de 40-35, tous en faveur du gagnant par décision unanime. All 3 judges score the bout 40-35 for the winner by unanimous decision, Moreno Fendero.
So the pro career of Moreno Fendero is now officially underway. He is 1-0. La Toro de Bangui makes a good first impression in front of the fans in his new home province as he gradually makes his way to relocating here to Quebec. And Moreno Fendero now will go back to the locker room, and I'm sure we'll get ready to watch his pal Christian Mbili a little bit later on. But, you know, Morgan, we saw some reporters here all the way from France, or reporters here from L'Equipe, not just for Christian Mbili, but obviously for Moreno Fendero as well, not just because of his amateur pedigree. He was also one of the stars of the French reality show Champions as well. So this is a guy with a big following back home.
Listen, in this sport, you make money based on your ability to attract attention, whether you attract attention because you're a great fighter who can string together a bunch of knockouts, or because you've been a reality TV star, doesn't really make a difference. Attention is attention, and let's see if Fendero can monetize it.
So let's take a look back at how this fight unfolded here, Morgan. A dominant performance, yes, for Fendero, but at the same time, as we talked about, Bueno provided, I think, the right amount of resistance that you would want for a pro debut.
He was in a fight, which, again, for a lot of pro debuts, you can't really say that. A lot of pro debuts, the result is basically a formality, right? Fendero, this was a one-sided fight, but he had to fight for it. And he got hit a couple times. He missed a few punches. He had to make adjustments.
And for Uziel Bueno, you know, prior to the fight, Morgan, he was talking to his local press, and he mentioned that back home on the local circuit, he's hoping to graduate to 8 and 10 rounders. So there's almost two separate lanes for careers like, for guys like Uziel Bueno, where they'll take big risks on the road, they'll make probably bigger paydays, but back home, Bueno is a guy whose main objective is to try and win a Mexican national title.
Right, and as we were discussing before the show, you know, for a lot of the out-of-town fighters, your objective is to win a local title back home. You come up here because the pay's better. And again, with the performance that Uziel Bueno put on tonight, like, he could come back here. People will pay to watch him again because he's a good fighter. He's competitive. He's a professional.
And Moreno Fendero scoring a knockdown in this fight in the third round. A dominant win for Fendero. But coming up next, Christopher Guerrero, a 7-0 prospect out of Montreal.